Welcome to the channel for the Band of the Red Hand. It is a fan and cosplay group founded by Craig Powers on Facebook. I am your host, Heather A. Busse, and I wanted to talk to you today a little bit about the band and then start a writer analysis of the character Matrim Cauthon. So let's get to it. The Band of the Red Hand, as I said, is a fan and cosplay group on Facebook, and it was founded by Craig Powers. I'm one of the admins on the group. There are many of us. We actually will be creating content from multiple admins and possibly members. We will share information on our fan group, cosplay activities we engage in. Some of us will be going to JordanCon in Atlanta, Georgia, and we'll probably post some videos for that as well. So stay tuned. If you like our channel and our content, please hit like and subscribe. We'd love to keep sharing content with you. And then for myself, I am a writer and editor full-time, and from a writer's perspective, I wanted to give a little bit about how Robert Jordan might have created the character Matrim Cauthon. I know he's done a lot of interviews, but there is something in writing and reading that a reader's perspective also merits relevancy as well. And I just want to discuss a little bit how a writer creates that, and maybe we'll communicate characters on the page and then how writers or readers might interpret some of what a writer puts out. So let's strap in. This video will not cover everything. I will be doing multiple videos on this topic, and this will just be part one. I'm going to start out with how Robert Jordan establishes Matt as a character early on. He creates Matt, in my view, without checking interviews and whatnot, just from looking at the text and analyzing it from a writer's perspective. He establishes Matt as a contrasting character to Rand and Perrin in particular. He is around the same age, as we know from the story. Sorry. I should say there will be some spoilers, but maybe not a ton. If you do want to not see any spoilers or hear about them, turn off the video and come back after you've read the stories. But if you've read them, keep watching. So he's established Matt, as I was saying, as a contrasting character. These are important in storytelling because it helps to challenge the other main characters in the story, or even just the main character. In the Wheel of Time, we have 5 main characters. We have Matt, Perrin, and Rand, and we have Nynaeve and Egwene. But Matt actually acts as kind of a counterpoint to the other 4 Emond's Fielders, particularly Rand and Perrin. So Robert Jordan did an excellent job establishing him in that way. We get examples from the story of what other characters think of him. Rand describes Matt as being mischievous. He has his mom and dad, Abel and Natty Cauthon, excuse me. I'm not a speaker, so this is new to me. He has his parents and his 2 younger sisters, Eldrin and Bodwin, and Rand describes them as being willing to tell on Matt when he gets into trouble. And Matt does get into trouble. He often instigates trouble. Rand definitely describes him that way as he's coming into Emond's Field on the way to the Wine Spring Inn. And then, of course, our first introduction to Matt is basically he wants to talk Rand into releasing a badger on the green, and this will cause trouble during the holiday in Emond's Field. So Robert Jordan has some character perspective of Matt that he introduces him with, and then he also has an example of Matt's behavior in scene, and that's with him wanting to release a badger on the green. So he has set up Matt as a mischievous, playful, not entirely serious person. This contrasts well with Rand's sense of duty and how he takes his role in Emond's Field somewhat seriously. Where the story is headed, with Rand seeing the Dark Rider on the road, And it contrasts nicely with Perrin, who is a blacksmith and kind of already starting to be established in his chosen career. He's an apprentice, and he takes his position seriously. He thinks everything out quite well. And Matt can be a little more impulsive and adventurous. And his motivations and goals at the beginning of the story that Robert Jordan has established is different than Perrin's and Rand's. Those two actually kind of feel settled in themselves and seem to know what their future is going to be. I think that we have to take into account what Robert Jordan has done there. And that is, Matt is the contrasting character in the story at this point. He also establishes goals and motivations for Matrim Cauthon as a character, and that's incredibly important. One of Robert Jordan's strengths in storytelling is character development. He really takes his time. He gives every single character, big or small, some sort of purpose. They have motivation and goals. They have some type of personality, and they have activities that in big and small ways impact the story. Matt, his goals and motivations at the beginning of the story is to have fun, to get out of Eamon's Field, seek adventure, and seek his fortune in life. And Robert Jordan, I think, deliberately sets that up because Matt is an excellent contrasting character. I don't know if it's in interviews how he imagined Matt initially, but I think that for me, he questions the level of seriousness people have. In my opinion, he's prone to bringing out that quirky, adventurous, fun streak that he has in himself. And I think those are important qualities for someone to have. Having some sort of balance. I think Matt acts as a balance to many of the other characters and situations. And Robert Jordan opens that up quite nicely. And then later, when they have to leave Eamon's Field because Trollocs and Fades come, Matt still thinks of it as somewhat of an adventure. He's not totally freaked out yet about what's happening to them. He thinks that he can get out into the world, get away from this issue, and live his own life. He has some point of view moments later on in the series that he definitely even thinks that at those points. So he kind of thinks he's going to be his own person. He doesn't imagine himself settling down or being responsible for others in the beginning. And even a little bit into some of the later books, he would have liked to choose his own way and have some independence. So Robert Jordan wrote, oh, there's the cat. There's my cat. Kitty, say hello. Say hi to everybody, kitty, kitty. There's my kitty. He just loves to crawl around. Anyways, so Robert Jordan created Matt Cauthon with skills that he already has before leaving Eamon's Field. When establishing a character, they know a certain amount of things, they want a certain amount of things already at the beginning of a story. Matt's no exception, and he knows about horses thanks to his father's farm and his father's knowledge of horses. He's also fairly good with a Two Rivers longbow, and he is pretty proficient with a quarterstaff. He does practice more later, but he's pretty decent already. Some of the first conflicts and obstacles that this character encounters, a writer will have so many conflicts and obstacles for a character in a story, and Matt's early on, obviously, just like Rand and Perrin, are the dark writer, but I would say Matt actually presents some of his own obstacles within himself. He creates conflict for the story himself within the first book, actually. Rand and Perrin do to a degree as well. All three of the Eamon's Field boys failed to communicate certain things that are happening to them, and there are several reasons for that, and I might get more into that later. But for just Matt Cauthon, we're gonna get into, he has this motivation to get out into the world, to seek adventure, to seek his fortune. He is interested in gaining wealth on his own outside of Eamon's Field and making not necessarily a name for himself, but doing something for himself on a broader scale than he has ever known. And I think this leads him to trouble. And I think most readers will know where I'm going with this. Robert Jordan wrote into him this desire, so we see that play out a bit later on. I think early on, Matt thinks that when he leaves Eamon's Field, it will be an adventure and he will find fortune and good things. He'll have a great time, and a lot of young people think that when they're starting out in the world. But a lot of people don't have Trollocs and Fades after them, like Rand, Perrin, and Matt do. However, even at this point, when they leave Eamon's Field because of the attack on the village during Winter's Night, Matt still thinks kind of it's going to be an adventure. It's not until a little later on that he admits it's not quite the adventure he thought it was going to be, and I think actually it probably takes him a little bit, and there are places later on in the series that he still thinks maybe he can get away from his destiny of being Ta'veren sometimes and go out and have fun, but early on he definitely is on that track. So they are attacked, they leave Eamon's Field. Robert Jordan sets up the stage of them encountering this evil several times, leaving Eamon's Field. There is definitely a sense of danger all the way to Terran Ferry, to Bear Alone when they go there, and they meet Min, everyone knows, who sees things, and Matt doesn't take any of this information as super important. Moraine and her warded land, they warn them to use their heads and tell them if anything strange happens, if they have strange dreams. Of course, Matt, Perrin, and Rand, they don't tell Moraine. Oh my gosh, my cat is over there climbing the walls. They don't tell Moraine and Lan that they've had dreams, and they actually think it's dreams of the Dark One. It's a Shamael, as we know, but they don't communicate this because there is an inherent mistrust of Aes Sedai in this world, and Matt particularly mistrusts Aes Sedai. We're not really sure why at the beginning, other than the fact that supposedly Aes Sedai can maybe not tell the truth. And then, so Matt doesn't trust them, Rand doesn't trust them, Perrin doesn't trust them. They all seem to on their own to decide to not talk to Moraine about their dreams. And they're still getting pursued by Trollocs and Fades, which is the evil in the story, the big evil that they're destined to confront later on. But compounding all of this is their personal decisions. So the next facet of what a writer will put into a story, into characters, are flaws. And flaws actually create for good conflict, and Matt has his own flaws, as do all the characters. Matt's flaws are some of his aspirations. He wants to get out into the world, but he does not know a lot about the world. He is ignorant. That's a flaw. It's a natural flaw, and it's quite believable. I can't say enough how genius Robert Jordan was in writing realistic, believable flaws and conflicts within characters and character relationships, and it really plays well with the backdrop of just this huge evil that's happening. It's easy for a reader to say, well, they should be really focused on this evil and defeating it, but they are individuals with their own thoughts, feelings, beliefs, goals, and some of them, in some parts, they don't really kind of entirely believe what's going on. I think Robert Jordan does show that on the page quite well. And Matt's no exception. So with his flaws in hand, in mind, and in his heart, he tends to make some decisions that are pretty detrimental to the party. And to himself. He actually suffers as a consequence of a big decision, and that comes along when they have this stand with the Trollocs outside Shadar Logoth. And one interesting facet of Matt's character, this is a plot point that Robert Jordan just smoothly fits in here. He suddenly has Matt speak in the Old Tongue. He doesn't know the Old Tongue. The Two Rivers people are certainly told about their ancestry through Moraine when she tells them about Manetheren, and that has the Emond's Fielders feeling kind of special about themselves and pride, but he doesn't know the Old Tongue from that story. He just starts speaking it right before the battle. There's a situation where Lan says his war cry for Melchior. Rand and Perrin yell Manetheren and charge, and then Matt says Karai on Kaldazar on Elizand, or Karai on Elizand, or something like that. Terrible with speaking, so forgive me for saying it wrong. He says this phrase, and it does mean something along the lines of for the Red Eagle, for the Rose of the Sun, for the Rose, or something. And Moraine does explain this to them when Egwene asks, but Matt's the one who says it, and that's a cue to the reader that something odd is going to be happening with Matt here. But he kind of interrupts his predilections for sudden speech in the Old Tongue when they decide to take shelter in Shadar Logoth. So Robert Jordan has upped the ante in the scene by having the Trollocs and Fades. They outnumber the party quite a bit. Most readers will know at this point it's Tom, Moraine, Lan, Nynaeve, Egwene, Perrin. Maybe Nynaeve is in there, I can't remember. Everyone can say down in the comments if they remember better. But it's Rand, Perrin, Matt, Egwene, Moraine, Lan, and Tom Merrilin, obviously. They take shelter in Shadar Logoth, and as you know from the stories, the city is also another point of conflict. It is a city of ruin. It fell to some sort of evil that's not even the Dark One. In fact, Fades and Trollocs are afraid of it, and they take shelter in there. Robert Jordan exploits their ignorance in this scene. Matt decides excuse me. Robert Jordan exploits their ignorance in this scene. Matt wants to go out and explore this city. They don't know that the reason that the Trollocs and Fades at this point are afraid of the city, they just know they're going to take shelter here, and the Trollocs and Fades may not want to enter. Moraine takes her rest, and they take care of their horses. They go out and explore. And this is where they encounter Mordeth and this treasure. And of course, this feeds into Matt's desire for treasure and adventure, and of course he's attracted to it. He doesn't even think there's anything wrong with it, or what consequence could happen, because he is ignorant of the world. And I think that's very believable, considering we already know something about him and his motivations, and he gets to this point where he takes something from the treasure. Rand and Perrin are not very trusting of this Mordeth, so they drag Matt away. At this point, they meet back up with the party, and Moraine asks them where they were and if they encountered anything odd, if they ran into anyone, and they said Mordeth, and she said she was alarmed, obviously, and said, did you take anything from him? Did you do anything for him? And they all say no, which we know is a lie. Again, another flaw, the lack of communication, but when you read the story, you know that Robert Jordan built into the personality of Aes Sedai and their organization that they're not very forthcoming. Moraine isn't entirely upfront with the boys on everything that she knows and what she wants to do, and they in turn are not very honest and forthcoming with her and the rest of the people in the party. They conceal that Matt has this dagger, or at least Matt does. I can't remember if at this point Rand and Perrin know about it. Maybe someone can comment below. But he is attached to this dagger, and immediately it starts to infect him. The dagger isn't just a dagger, it is influenced and imbued with the evil of Shader Logoth, and Matt has it with him now, and he at this point is slowly infected with this evil as well. One thing that a lot of readers criticize that Robert Jordan chose to do in the writing is have this storyline of the Red Dagger with Matt because they don't like his character with the dagger. I do think the dagger really works well for something for Matt to confront, and here's why. Matt is someone that wants adventure in the world and he wants to seek its fortune. Those two desires immediately become a problem for him in the first book. He is challenged on it right away, and it is a learning experience for him. He gets the opportunity for growth. However, the one nit I would have maybe is, since he does travel from here after Shader Logoth with Tom and Rand when the party is separated, we don't see Matt's viewpoint, and Robert Jordan probably made that choice because Rand has a lot of activities going on with him, and the reader definitely would need to know those too, but he might have spent between book 1 and book 2 a few chapters in Matt's point of view so that we could see his internal struggle with this dagger, what he might be thinking and feeling. It doesn't instantly take him over, so it's a struggle, and here and there he's fine sometimes, and then he's swearing or spouting gibberish in the old tongue that Rand can't even understand. There's a lot going on with him, and we don't get his viewpoint. It might have been beneficial to the reader to get a sense of what's going on with him internally, because we do get that later on, and we get that with Rand, and we get that with Perrin right away. In book 1, we get viewpoints from Perrin, we get viewpoints from Nynaeve, and maybe it's Egwene and Perrin, I'm not sure. I know for sure Perrin, Rand, and Nynaeve have point of view chapters, but Matt doesn't, and I think that was a detriment to readers connecting with him while he has the dagger and empathizing with his struggle. But I do think it is a good struggle for him to have had, and I do say kudos to Robert Jordan for challenging Matt on his early motivations and goals in life, because it is a catalyst for change later on. Well, I'm going to end this video here because there's much more to talk about in his character and how Robert Jordan chose to build him and what he adds to the story. If you do like this type of content, hit a like and subscribe. Check us out on the Band of the Red Hand Facebook. I'll add a link below, and thank you so much. Have a great day.